and welcome to this lesson titled The Academic Writing Process Steps and Key Features. So in this lesson, we are going to learn together about what are the key characteristics of academic writing and what are the steps of the writing process. So let's get started by defining what is academic writing. Academic writing is a formal style of writing used in higher education and scholarly publications. Its main purpose is to communicate ideas, arguments, and research findings clearly, logically, and with evidence. So academic writing is the kind of writing that is used by lecturers, researchers, and students at the university. And it is used to communicate ideas in an objective and formal way. So it differs from other types of writing, like the creative writings, where writers they have more freedom concerning the structure of their writing. In academic writing, there are some conventions and the standards that writers should adhere to. So here are some examples of academic writing that you can find at the university level. First, you have an essay, a research paper, a thesis or a dissertation, and a research proposal. So all of these papers should be written in academic writing style. Now let's talk about the writing process, starting from understanding the assignment to submitting the final draft of your writing and receiving feedback. So from the first step to the last step, there are many stages and sub-stages that you have to go through, and we will talk about them now. Now, the first stage is the pre-writing stage or the planning stage. This is what happens before you actually start writing your essay. So the first thing you need to do is to choose a topic or understand the assignment. What does it ask you to do? Does it ask you to narrate, to describe, to compare, to argue, etc.? And then you need to understand what is the topic and the focus of this assignment. Once this is finished and you have understood the assignments, you start doing your research by gathering reliable information on the subject. So you can use some credible sources like books, journals, or the internet to gather information. And then once you finish with your research and reading, you brainstorm ideas and create a mind maps. So here you are going to select the most relevant ideas that you would like to include in your essay. And finally, you create an outline. After creating your outline, you are ready for stage 2, which is writing or drafting. So basically in this stage, you just try to turn your outline into complete paragraphs. All the ideas you brainstormed and how you organized them in your outline will now be turned into the first draft of your essay. And while you are writing, you need to pay attention to the academic writing conventions, which means you need to make sure that you are writing in an academic style using proper grammar and vocabulary. Once your first draft is ready, you can move to the post-writing, which is the third and the last stage of the writing process, in which you need to do some editing and proofreading. So how can you do this? First, you start reading your draft and then you check the structure of your writing. Are you adhering to the academic conventions of the paper you are writing, or the type of academic writing you are writing? For instance, in writing an essay, does your essay include a clear introduction, body paragraphs and conclusions, and you respected the structure of all of them? Then you start by spotting and correcting spelling, punctuation, capitalization and grammar mistakes. So as you are writing the first draft, you are likely to make many mistakes, but when you reread your own work, you can spot these mistakes and you can correct them. Second, you can check the coherence and the logical flow of your ideas. As you read, you can tell if your essay flows smoothly, if the ideas are well connected together, if there is a logical flow, and the presentation of your idea is logical and smooth. And finally, you need just to make the final revisions to your writing. So after you correct the mistakes that you spotted, you proofread everything, you check the coherence, the structure, etc. Then you make the final revisions and you will have your final draft ready for submission. Now you are probably wondering what differentiates academic writing from other types of writing. What are the key characteristics of this academic writing? So together, we will see now what are these key features of academic writing, which are formality, organized structure, coherence, objectivity, and correctness. And we will dive in to each one of them and learn how we can achieve them. The first characteristic of academic writing is that it is well structured. This means that academic writing should have a clear structure. So this structure is driven from the genre of writing. For example, an essay consists of an introduction, a clear body paragraph, and a conclusion. Also, research papers, they have their own structure. Dissertations, they have their own structure. So in academic writing, we don't just organize ideas randomly. We have to follow the specific structure and put the components of that structure of the paper that we are writing. The second feature of academic writing is formality. So, academic writing should use formal and precise language. This means that you should write in proper English, following grammar rules and correct spelling. So in academic writing, for instance, we don't use colloquial language that we use in our everyday speech. We also don't use contractions or short sentences or informal words. We have to be very formal and avoid slang, and choose academic vocabulary over simple words. So here in academic writing, word choice is very important, and also respecting the sentence structure in English and forming proper sentences is critical. The third characteristic of academic writing is coherence. So coherence in academic writing refers to the unity and logical flow of ideas, which means when we read something written in academic writing, we feel that this text flows smoothly and that the ideas, they stick together and they are presented in a clear manner, so we can follow the chain of thoughts of the writer. Coherence in academic writing can be achieved by using transitional words and phrases. For example, we can use moreover, furthermore, for instance, for example, however, etc., and other types of transitional words to link different sentences and also different paragraphs. Second way is to organize ideas in a logical order. As I said, we have to follow specific structure when writing in academic writing style, so we have to adhere to this structure and organize ideas in a logical order following it. And finally, we should repeat keywords. Another characteristic of academic writing is correctness. So correctness is about paying attention to the grammar and the presentation of your writing. So it is about adhering to grammatical rules concerning the punctuation, the capitalization, the respect of subject-verb agreement, pronouns agreement, the third person as, the sentence's structure, etc. It's also about paying attention to your spelling and presenting your writing in a correct way, meaning that you don't have mistakes in your own writing. So, how this can be achieved? First, you can check for common errors such as the run-on sentences, subject-verb agreements, etc. And this happens after you finish the first draft of your writing and you start reading it and try to spot all the mistakes so that you can correct them. You can also use some spell checker or to proofread for your words. You can also use some softwares that can help you with the proofreading process. Correctness is also about the proper citation. So if you are using citations such as citing some research findings in your writing, you need to ensure that all sources are properly cited and formatted according to the required style. For instance, if you are using the APA style, all your citations should be formatted according to the APA style conventions. So this is about correctness in your essay. And finally, we have objectivity. So academic writing maintains an objective tone. This means that it aims to present arguments based on evidence rather than personal opinions or biases. So when writers use the academic style, they try to be objective. They avoid expressing their own emotions and opinions and saying that this is just how I think. No, so in academic writing, we just try to present multiple viewpoints, and then if we make any claim, we try to support it with the evidence. So this evidence can be either factual information, research findings, examples from real life, etc. How can we achieve objectivity? First, you need to limit the use of the first person pronouns like I, me, we, as well as second person pronouns like you and your. So you try to maintain a third person perspective. The second thing is that you avoid using emotional, judgmental, or exaggerated language. As I said, try to maintain an objective tone. You don't express your own judgments, emotions, and opinions. So you try to just present information without showing bias. And finally, you acknowledge other perspectives and support your claims with the evidence. So if you make a claim about anything, it needs to be supported. You can use research findings or examples from real life to support it. You cannot just make a claim and say this is just how I think or this is how I see things. So no, this is not objective. This is you being biased and subjective. But when you present a claim and then you support it with evidence, you are maintaining objectivity because you are using the support and also acknowledging that there are other perspectives who might disagree with it. Well, we have reached the end of our lesson in which we learned about the steps of the writing process and the key features that characterize academic writing. So this is a final quiz for you to check your understanding of everything we covered in this lesson. So first, I want you to choose one of the following topics: the benefits of studying abroad, causes of illegal immigration, or the effects of COVID-19 pandemic. Then you explain the steps you will follow to write an essay about your chosen topic. After that, you have to tell me how you will make sure that your writing adheres to academic writing standards and reflects the key features of academic writing. And then you can write the first and the last draft of your essay, of course following the steps of the writing process, and explain how the two differ. So this quiz will help you to check your understanding of the content covered in the lesson and if you could apply everything we learned. That's it for today. Thank you for your attention and see you in another lesson on academic writing.